Steve Kim here, so excited! Steve Kim Show, episode number 55. What happened in the month of June 2019 as it pertains to the detached and townhome markets for Toronto and for various pockets of York region? Well, I got the numbers, so let's get right into it. So that average detached home in Toronto back in May 2019 was trading just over $1.38 million. Fast forward to June 2019, that average detached is now trading at just over $1.33 million. So just a slight drop for detached homes in Toronto. Well, what happened in Richmond Hill? Richmond Hill has been in the news all over York region in terms of real estate. So back in May 2019, that average detached home was trading around $1.36 million. Fast forward to June, it crept up just a little bit to just over $1.4 million, which is good news. Now for Markham, what happened back in May 2019, that average detached home was trading around $1.23 million. Fast forward in June, we see just a slight little dip. Now that average detached home is trading around $1.2 million. Now in Vaughan, back in May, that average detached home was trading around $1.19 million. And good news for homeowners that they're looking to sell in Vaughan. That average detached home in June is trading just over $1.24 million, which is a good sign. Now, months of inventory, checks and balances, supply versus demand. So in Toronto back in May, that months of inventory for detached homes was around 2.1, and now in June 2019, the months of inventory for Toronto detached homes is 2.5. So still that number we know is a strong sign of a seller's market. And again, when I say seller's market, I don't mean for all detached homes everywhere in Toronto. The numbers that I'm giving you are for Toronto macro level. And within Toronto, we know there are very specific neighbors that are super hot, where they're getting into multiple offers. We also know that there's certain pockets in Toronto where homes are sitting for just a little bit longer than the average. So in Richmond Hill, months of inventory back in May was around 5.4. In June, it's 5.5. So we know kind of around that 5 months of inventory, 5-6 months of inventory, we know that that is a balanced market, which means that there are enough properties for buyers to have choice, right? And who doesn't want choice? So have choice to be able to make their decisions, make the best decisions for whatever they purchase. So great, healthy market for Richmond Hill. Now, in Markham, what does that look like? Months of inventory back in May, we were around 3.1. We crept up just a little bit to 4.2 in June. And then in Vaughan, similarly, we stayed around 3.5 because in May we were at 3.5 months of inventory, and now in June, 3.5 months of inventory. Now, the townhome market has been quite hot because it is still one of the most affordable housing options for first-time home buyers. So in Toronto, we know in May that average townhome was trading around $1.04 million. What happened in June? It dropped just a little bit, still over $1 million. That average townhome is trading around $1.02 million. Now for Richmond Hill, what happened? That average townhome was trading just over $855,000 in May. In June, we see it dropped just a little bit to just over $829,000. That average townhome in Markham back in May was trading just over $810,000, and in June it dropped to just over $783,000. And then in Vaughan back in May, that average townhome was trading just over $852,000, and in June it dropped a little bit as well. Now, that average townhome is trading around $847,000. So right across the board, Toronto, pockets of York region, we've seen townhomes come down just a little bit in terms of price point. And people are saying, well, what is that? Why is that happening, Steve? One of the things that I've noticed is that because detached homes have become, quote unquote, a little bit more affordable comparatively speaking to 2017, those homes are actually starting to move quicker. And because of that, people aren't necessarily looking so heavily at townhomes because those detached homes have come down at a price point that makes it a little bit more affordable for those homeowners to move into. Now, months of inventory in the townhome market. In Toronto, we went from 1.7 in May to 1.2 in June, and yes, that is super seller's market. So townhomes are going in multiple offers in and around Toronto. In Richmond Hill, we went from 2.6 in May to 3.6 in June, and then in Markham, we went from 2.3, we shot up to 3.4. So that is something absolutely I want to keep an eye on because that's one additional month of inventory for the townhome segment in Markham. So that's something I'm going to keep my eye on. And then in Vaughan, we went from 2.2 in May to 2.5 in June. I hope you found these numbers useful. I know there are a lot of numbers, but if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email, or come by and say hello. As always, be great, be kind. Take care.